guys, what's up? And welcome back to another episode of Hot Topic. My name is Nicole Stark, and today I'm joined with none other than Kat. Kat, how are you, by the way? I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. It's been a while. Also, it's just the two of us. I feel like we're having like our normal conversation, but in front of like everyone to see. Okay, so before we get into today's hot topic, I have a question for you. I think it's a really important question, probably one of the most important questions I'm going to ask you today, okay?
Got it.
All right, so if, she's like, no pressure. Okay, but if you can, like, visit any place in the whole entire world.
Greece.
I wasn't done with my question, so let me just re-ask my question, okay? If you could visit any place in the whole entire world.
Greece.
Why? Why Greece?
Okay, Greece. The water. What is it called?
Water.
Santorini.
Ocean.
Santorini.
Oh,
That's
Santorini.
like that little city.
Oh,
that
okay,
little
okay.
city right there. The water looks so good, and I'm really into like taking pictures like with cameras and stuff. So that looks like a really good camera spot. But then the water looks. Really
So
nice
for
to
the
swim in.
photos.
The photos, the little outdoor like adventuring, and the food.
Have you seen the movie, like the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants? It's like, have you seen that movie?
No.
It's about like, it's a really cute movie. It's a good movie if you haven't seen the movie. It's about like four best friends. And anyways, one of them, she lives in Greece, or she visits Greece. And I remember like seeing like how pretty like the buildings or like the houses are like, looks like they're all on top of each other. It looks so sick.
Yeah.
But anyways, that wasn't the most important question.
You said it was.
I know, I just lied. Don't lie.
Oh.
No, the most important question I want to ask, I want to kind of get into this conversation of high school.
High school.
So you go back in school when?
On the 11th.
Oh, wow. Are you excited?
Yeah, yes.
Senior year.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
How do you feel? How do you feel about senior year?
I kind of want to cry.
Okay.
But I'm also really happy. So it's
Happy?
like happy tears.
Yeah.
But it's like, holy crap.
You
like,
know, senior year goes by like
the whole thing.
goes by quickly. Huh?
It's literally 4 snaps,
Yeah.
and then you're done. And it blows my mind because you start off freshman year, you like walk in and you're super scared. You're like, I'm gonna be here for way too long. And sophomore year, you're like, bro, I just can't wait.
Yep.
And then junior, you're like, oh, okay. You're like one step away, and then you get to like senior year. It's like like I only have one more year of this like obligation, and then I'm done.
Dang. Well, you're gonna kill it. I want to go
Cross
into this podcast in regards to, so you're going into your senior year, and for the most of it, you've gone through a lot of high school already.
Yeah.
So I want you. I'm gonna flip the questions on you today. Okay. I want you to ask. If someone, whoever was watching this, was probably going to their freshman year or maybe even to their senior year, if you could think of a good question to ask that we could tackle about going into high school, what would that question be? Like, what's a good question you think that could relate to someone listening to this today?
Yeah. Well, I think one big thing is like isolation. So whether you've been doing online school, homeschool, or you've been going to like an actual school during your years of high school, like isolation is really big. So how would you say, how would you keep yourself from being isolated, even regarding the circumstances now or moving forward?
That's good. And it's interesting. I find that to be a really interesting question when it comes to isolation, because for I think a majority of everyone watching this, you're doing school online.
Yeah.
So
You're already isolated.
right. So especially even if you're not, like, I know I have 2 other siblings, and so when we were in school, I was homeschooled my senior year, ironically enough. But isn't that weird?
That's a trip.
Like, I chose to do online school. Isn't that weird?
That's
but when I was homeschooled my senior year, my siblings were homeschooled with me, so I never felt alone.
Right.
So I think that's a great question. But isolation, I guess the question you're asking is how do you not stay isolated?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're doing online school,
Yeah.
and you find yourself home all the time, how do you not stay isolated?
Yeah.
I'll answer, and then I think you can probably pick up the conversation after.
Yeah.
But I think one of the greatest things is, this is going to sound so ridiculous because it sounds like duh, but is to really just to stay connected.
Yeah.
Right? I think,
Yeah.
how do I stay connected when I'm by myself? And one of the biggest things I've realized is this: you're going to be alone if you don't reach out. Right?
Yeah,
And a lot of the times, I know for me too, even when I was in high school, one of the biggest things I struggled with was reaching out to people because I didn't want to annoy people, or I didn't want to be a bother to somebody.
Yeah.
But I think one of the greatest things you can do, especially being at home, your parents may not be home, right? You may have home life may look a little bit different to you, but one of the greatest things you could do when you're by yourself is to reach out to someone and say, hey, I'm inviting you into this area in my life. I'm inviting you to my everyday life. And so I think one of the greatest things is, one, reaching out to friends. right? So having friends, good friends that you're reaching out to. But a second thing is this, and I think, Kat, you do such a great job at this, is reaching out to mentors or to leaders, right? And putting yourself in a place of, I want to get involved. Like, I don't want to be by myself. And so I actually want to ask you, what was that area in your life where you're like, you know what? I'm going to not be afraid to reach out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be afraid to ask for help, or I'm not going to be afraid to ask to get involved. Like, how was that? How does that look like for you?
Okay, so you're saying, like, what area in my life was I, like, okay, people come in type of thing.
Right.
Okay. I think when it came, and I talk about this so much, but I think when it came to community or, like, because I've always been a social butterfly, but sometimes, like what you said, like, okay, I don't want to invite people and I don't want to invite myself, but I want to be involved. Like, how do I kind of get into this? And so, like, reaching out and stuff was kind of this plug-in to say, like, hey, like, can we be friends? Like, can we hang out? Like, can we talk? Like, can we, like, hit each other up on social media? Like, can I send you memes kind of thing? You know, like, the daily, like, stuff that you look for, like, in a friend or even, like, in a mentor, and then applying that to say, like, hey, like, the way that they received my, like, hey, like, do you want to be friends? Like, that taught me something about how to treat other people too, and then how to give other tools to, like, other people. Because, like, as a teenager who does like to socialize, it's a little easier, but for someone who doesn't like to socialize, it might be like, bro, I'm fine. Like, even if they get annoyed with me, I'm fine being back here. Like, I'm cool with it. And so learning how to meet different people and learning what, like, learning how to navigate, I guess, through meeting people, online.
What would you tell somebody who's going into their freshman year, or just literally any year in high school? What's one of your greatest advice to them when it comes to asking for help?
Asking for help. Don't be afraid, because everyone's been on the same boat as you at some point, or will be at some point. Like, whether it be you being nervous, or maybe the topic is a little bit bigger than, like, you feel it's a big topic, or I don't know, it's a new phase in your life. Like, don't be afraid to ask for help, or to, I don't know, just that nervousness. Like, don't let that overcome your actual intention of wanting to grow. Because if you're expecting to grow, it's going to feel a little uncomfortable at some point. And you're going to feel that stretch and that pull, but keep, like, pushing through it. It's so key that you have people on both sides of you saying, like, yo, like, we're almost there. And someone in front of you, someone like a mentor that's saying, like, hey, this is the finish line. Like, let's keep pushing to it. People on the side to run, and someone to kind of, like, get to, if that makes sense.
That's good. You know what I love too, Kat, just because I know you, but your friendship with your best friend, I think is the coolest story I've heard. No, I kind of want you to share a little bit of, like, how did you get, because I think sometimes when we talk about community and getting involved and finding, like, the right friends and finding the right group of people, we're like, well, how do I find the friend, right? I love what Proverbs says this: for us to have friends, you have to be a friend. Right? And so talk a little bit about you and your best friend, and kind of how that kind of came about in community and not being isolated.
Oh my gosh. I love this question so much. Oh my gosh. Okay. So my best friend, I actually met at church here. I'm gonna drop her name, Belle. Love you, Belle. Okay. We met her. I met her at church, and I was at a point, like, coming to church where I was like, okay, I have people that I talk to, but not people that I'm, like, hanging out with, like, outside of school, or that I'm texting, like, on the daily, and I really want that. And at the time, God was asking me to release some things, like, from my life and trust Him with certain things, and I was like, struggling, bro. Like, we went through this together, and I was like, absolutely not. And then finally came a point where I was like, okay, like, I just need to, like, jump off this little bridge, and then everything else is going to follow, and He's going to bring things into my life. And so I was like, all right. And I was praying, dude, like, for months. Even, like, I was sitting in the car with my mom at times, and I was like, I just need, like, a friend that's, like, on fire with me, but also, like, isn't going to, like, chew me out if I, like, make a funny joke and maybe it wasn't, like, the best. You get what I mean? And so I was like, I need that person. Like, I need that best friend. And I kid you not, that Sunday that I, like, released what God was asking me to, the Lord, like, dropped her, like, into my life. And it was so funny, because I came up to her and actually talking about connecting. God had been putting her name in my heart for months, like, weeks upon weeks upon weeks. And He was like, Belle. And I was like, bro, I don't talk to her. Like, I don't know. Like, I seen her on campus.
And did you guys go to the same high school?
Yes, same high school, same church, like, same everything for years, and never once were we like this. Like, we never, like, we said hi and bye, and that was it. And He kept putting her her name in my heart, and I said, no, like, we don't talk like that. I can't open up to her about, like, certain things because, like, bro, I don't know her. And God was like, just do it. And so she was sitting in service one day, and after it was done, I pulled her aside and I was like, hey, I was like, can we like talk? And she goes, yeah, of course. She was like super nice. And I was like, okay, I was like,
She's
this
so
is going
sweet.
well. Yeah. And we sat down and I was like, hey, I was like, God's been like putting you on my heart. Like I've been asking the Lord for like a best friend, like someone I can just really like click and vibe with. And she was like, no way. And we just looked at each other and I was like, huh? And then she was like, me too. And your name keeps popping up. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. And she was like, oh my gosh, like God's been saying the same thing too, like about you. Like I keep hearing your name, but we don't talk. And I was like,
Dang.
why haven't we done this sooner? Like, why haven't we listened to God sooner? Because after that day, our like friendship like exploded into this like fruitful, accountable, trustworthy, fun, exciting friendship that I've never had or experienced in my life. Because there's something where I could be really vulnerable, really honest, and not get judged or condemned, but like I could also mess around with and also not get judged or condemned. Like this crazy friendship where it just like God knew, like he knew, and we're into like the same things. And even like in the times that maybe we'd like disagreed on something or we didn't see like eye to eye, where we're not into the same thing, there was respect. And that taught me so much, because you carry what you learn in your friendships into your other relationships, whether it be school, work, family, or even your spouse, like all these things, like you carry these things. And so that, like this friendship, like I've been learning so much.
Good.
It's been like juicing me, if that makes sense. I feel like an orange, okay? I feel like an orange when you're like juicing and you're getting everything out, all the good stuff out, and it just turns into something brand new, but it's so good.
Dang.
And like the root, I love Belle so much.
I think one of the best things that we can take out of this is, in order for us to trust someone, we actually have to trust someone.
Right.
Right. So you can't just say, hey,
Yeah.
I have trust issues. Like you obviously can have trust issues.
Yeah.
But I think there's moments to, how do I trust again?
Right.
You have to trust again.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like
exactly.
you can't find, like for instance, I can't know if you're a trustworthy person unless I trust you with something.
Right.
Right. And so I love how and I love what you said too, that God kept God kept dropping her name to your heart. Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny when you obey the first time.
Yeah.
Right. Obedience the first time really could just, it can help you save so much time when you just hear what God is saying and then do it when he asks you. And so, man, I love that. And I love too that, and this is really the last thing before we kind of conclude this topic of community and friendship. My last question to you is we've been in quarantine, COVID, this whole thing now for probably 5 months. How have you stayed in community yourself? And how do you plan on staying in community as you go into your senior year of high school?
Dang. Oh wait, also like little nugget too, because it's just like prompt to say this, but like fear, like that fear in a friendship even, right? Because a lot of people, you can get hurt by a lot of people in different relationships, but a friendship sometimes hurts one of the most. Like it hurts one of the deepest, because this was like your homie, your home skillet. Like this was your person.
Someone you trusted.
Yeah, and like even me and Belle went through phases, or not phases, but like days and stuff where we were like, bro, like we know this is God-given friendship, but we still have like little like wounds and stuff that the Lord's like fixing and working through. And here's the coolest part with that friendship is we were able to be vulnerable and say like, hey, I do have like maybe a trust issue, or maybe I am hurt in this area, but like how do we work on this together? And then saying like, yo, God's given us this and it's built on his foundation, so we know it's sturdy, like it's gonna last. And so being vulnerable and open, even with your fears and your wounds and your pain, is so key in a friendship that's given to you by God, because you know it's there for a reason. It's gonna last. Like he wouldn't give you something that's gonna hurt you. You know. Anyways, but back to your question about
COVID.
About COVID. Yep.
Staying not isolated.
Yes. Okay. So internet is so handy right now. Like all of your cell phone,
Social
your
media.
laptop, anything, use it. Utilize it to the most that you can. There's a lot of like outdoor places that you can go to like, hey, can we meet up? If you're not comfortable with that, like, yo, Zoom, like FaceTime somebody, like keep like reaching out. I think like we freak out right when we see like, oh my gosh, like my phone has no reception, it's not connected, but we don't freak out when we're not connected. And I think it's time that we start freaking out a little bit, if that makes sense, to get connected. Like, yo, I need to be connected to God. Yo, I need to be connected to friends, to a mentor, to a pastor, someone that I trust. Like I need to be connected. And so I think if you look at yourself, because I think we're our hardest critics, right? But if you look at yourself and say like, yo, if this was someone else, how would I be going about the situation? You're valuable and your heart needs to be taken care of. The Bible says like the heart is where the issues of life spring out of. So take care of your heart. Like talk with people that you
So
trust.
good.
Like, keep in constant communication. I'm telling you, like, yes, if it's stretching you, if you're growing, it's going to feel a little uncomfortable, but it's worth
Yeah.
it. And it's going to be a lot of fun in the process of it. It's going to feel like
I
a
love
little
it.
duck walking on water for the first time, you know, but like, you've got it. You've got it. You just have to keep using your resources, bro, like as much as you can. If you see someone at the grocery store and they look like, I don't know, you see something that they like or something you like on them, like, yo, that's a really nice thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I like your outfit. And you never know what could come out of that, a friendship
It's
or
good.
even like, I don't know, someone that you might run into on the daily, you know?
Right. I love it. I love what you just said. You're so caught up. We get so frustrated when our phones aren't connected, but if we're
Yeah.
not connected,
It's like, oh,
dang, that is such a good. I don't want to say it's a good place to end, but that's where we're gonna end.
That's where we're gonna end, yeah.
But I think the biggest thing we can catch is this: is to stay connected. Find a good person to trust,
Yes.
right? Get connected to a mentor, a leader, and I love what Kat does is she. Just get connected at church,
Yeah.
right? And so we love this saying at Jesus Followers, we follow Jesus together. And so let's continue to follow Jesus together. I'm so glad you joined us for this week's episodes of Hot Topic. Join us next week because it's also going to be fire. We love you and we can't wait to see you next week. Peace.
Adios.